want to start the conversation with the intro, because especially in the first episode, the intro is different than the rest of the series. It like starts out with these beautiful like matte paintings and Katara like going through
Hmm.
and really setting the stage for the world and giving the audience all that we need to know like immediately from the rip. And it's just gorgeous to start, like you see it in there. I love the vistas that they give, and kind of like starting out the world, and it gives you so much information but in a really
Yeah.
distilled way, and like it trusts the audience with that, which I think is great. And I think that's a really strong through line for the entire show, but especially like these opening episodes, because there's a lot that they kind of need to like dive in there and get into. So like,
And
what do you think about,
fast. Yeah.
yeah, like this intro, and especially it being kind of different from the other ones?
I love it. I think it's so creative. I think it's genius because they know what we know already and they don't have to keep repeating that. I like that they do cut it down in the next in all of the other episodes. But for those who don't know, in this first episode, Katara talks more about her grandmother telling her these stories. She mentions there was a time of peace where the Avatar kept the peace between everyone. 100 years have passed, and the Fire Nation is nearing a victory in this 100-year war. She also mentions that 2 years ago, the father and men of her tribe journeyed to the Earth Kingdom to fight the Fire Nation, leaving her and her brother to look after the tribe. And that's her and her brother, not just Sokka. We need to point that
Hmm.
out.
Yeah.
And she also mentioned some people believe that the Avatar was never reborn into the Air Nomads, and then the cycle has broken, which I think is an interesting little tidbit and gives us a good look into the world. And it's a great idea to have that be longer because this is a whole brand new world. It's for kids. Nobody knows what's going on. We've never seen this world before. This is completely new and invented. So it's a
Yeah.
great quick way to get all of this information in. And it's just it's a big thing about the show is this beautiful exposition. They
Yeah. And I
do it
think
in
that
such a good
also
creative way.
her being like, I still believe that the Avatar will return. Also, in the middle or at
Yes.
the end of this exposition, like you're still seeding a very important part of her character, and that she does have hope and like belief in the Avatar. Like as a person, even before she gets to meet him directly, like she's still like, no, I
Hmm.
think that this is a valid thing, and this will help the world heal. And that's a really like you get that even when you're getting the what's essentially an exposition dump, like it's
Yeah.
like you're like you have to set up stuff for the audience, you have to get them to know that, but then it is still even putting like important character information in there. And I think that continues immediately with the first scene as we get Katara and Sokka, canoeing in the ice, and you
Hmm.
immediately get where they are as characters. You have Katara trying and kind of failing to waterbend, which also you get waterbending immediately in the show. Like you see it
Immediately. Yeah.
so quickly and you're like, oh, okay, like I know what this is now. I see it in practice. And you get the explanation for what it is and the state of it in their tribe by Sokka being dismissive of it. Like he it sets up his character because he's automatically being sexist and dismissive and
And
talking down to
yeah.
Katara. But it also gives you like what you need to know as far as like, okay, she's the only one there that can waterbend. Like that's a very
Mhm.
important thing as well. And
Yeah.
so it is a consistent thing that this show does, where it's giving you that information in very character driven ways, as opposed to just like telling you things. It's letting the
Telling you things.
characters like have normal conversations, and you get the pertinent information that you need from that, which is so cool. Like
Like
it's
they kill
awesome.
I hate to phrase it like this, but they kill so many birds with one stone.
Oh, they do.
Literally everything they do.
They line them up. There's like eight in a row, and
they,
they're like, all right, we're just
yes.
gonna hit them
And I'm
all.
like, from this one sentence, you learn so much. Like the way Sokka calls it, I think Katara's like, it's not magic. And then Sokka
Hmm.
goes, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, it's an ancient art, important to our culture. And you get so much from that about their relationship, who he is to her, how he feels about that, how Katara feels about this, how, like,
Yeah,
all of the birds dead with the stone.
it's
It's
all, yeah, it's
it's
immediately
genius.
there. And
Like you
then
could have taken the easy way out, but it's smart. They
yeah,
they do
it's
exposition in such a great way.
it's all just rooted in character, which is the like I think the most important thing that the show does, and they do it so
Yes.
consistently and so thoroughly. And it also, yeah, he also I did notice says he calls it magic so many times in the opening
He
episodes. He's like,
does,
"This is
yeah.
just like dumb magic or weird magic or whatever." He calls like Appa a magical flying
A
thing.
magical freak or
Yeah,
something,
and it's
yeah.
like, it just shows you exactly where he is as a character. And we also get a very, very important character moment for Katara whenever they like crash, they break their canoe, and then they're stranded now. And she starts freaking out. Well, she starts getting angry at Sokka because he's, of course, being dismissive again. And
Yeah.
so her temper flares, and that's how we get the inciting incident of the show, which is
Yes.
her like breaking the ice, and then we get the iceberg, and we get the titular boy in the iceberg, and that's how Aang comes out, and we see him for the first time, which is that sequence also is just stunning. Like it's such good
It's so
animation.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
I
it's
remember somebody talked about I think actually one of the creators talked about this, the background painting and how
mhm,
many hours they spent on those beautiful background paintings. You could see, I know this is in a later episode, but some of them are watercolors, some of them
mhm,
are oil paintings, and it's like, oh my God. I think like a big thing about this show is they go the extra mile when you don't have to. They did all of this
yeah.
extra work, they put in all this extra effort when it wasn't necessary. Like they wanted to. They wanted to put in this extra work. They wanted to make it their freaking magnum opus.
And
And it
it
was.
you can feel it, like you can it makes and leaves such an impact because of that. You're like, oh, okay, like it's just such a there's such striking images and such like a profound thing. Even the opening, to go back a second, the opening tracking shot of them whenever you're, going through all of the ice and the
Oh,
water and
the
stuff. It's
ice
just,
and it's
yeah, it's just like such a long, like swooping camera angle that it's like you don't see that in like
you
Saturday
don't
morning
see
cartoons
that.
most of the
No.
time. That's not a normal thing. And it really helps it stand out and stand apart from that, which is so cool. So, we get Aang busting out of the iceberg and like
Mhm.
falling and stuff. And their reactions to him are very, again, in part with their characters. Katara
Yeah.
immediately wants to help, and Sokka's immediately like, "This is not our problem.
Defensive.
We
Yeah.
need to go. Like this dude just came out of an iceberg. We don't know what's going on here. Like we should get out of here." And it just again immediately puts them like where they're at character wise at the beginning of their journeys and sets it up
Mhm.
so well.
And
And
this is
that's just
what,
awesome.
in the first 2 minutes? Not
Yeah, two,
even.
3 minutes, maybe. Like
I
it's done so quickly.
like you don't even realize how little time has passed
Hmm.
and how much information you've already gotten. It's done in such a way where you, as the viewer, you don't even know that you now know all of this.
Right.
It,
Yeah. It
it's
just is. It's a very subtle thing.
it's very cool.
Hmm.
And then also, I want to talk about immediately Katara and Sokka's sibling relationship
Yeah.
and how accurate it is. I remember watching this in 2008, and I was like, that's exactly how my brother and I fight. I have an older brother, and we bicker just like that. I always yell at him. I'm like, you're being sexist. Like, oh, just because I'm a girl, you don't think I could do this. And then he's always like, I'm better than you at everything, and I know best. It's
Yeah.
so accurate. It's so good.
And
They
that's such a, great thing to see. It adds that layer of it being so genuine. So you're like, oh,
Yeah,
I can relate to this, or I've seen this, or I know people. Either you either know it personally, or you've seen people that are like that, and you're like, okay, like yeah, that's
like
how
I
that
know
relationship is.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, because
which is
have you
awesome.
seen some sibling relationships in shows and they're like, "Hello, brother." They're like,
They're
"Oh, it's
just
my brother." "Oh, hello,
so
sister."
they're
You're
so
like, "Who
wooden.
talks like that?"
Yeah,
Yeah, they're
it's
so
just
wooden, or they're like, "I love you so much, brother," and I'm like, "No sibling talks like that." Like,
that's not really how that goes, but
yeah,
sure,
that's
I
not how that
guess.
goes.
Maybe.
Love him, but I'll never tell him that.
Right? Um, so we get them. Katara immediately realizes that he's an airbender also because he sneezes and goes like 100 feet up in
Yes.
the air, which is
Yeah.
hilarious. He just like
And he
sneezes. I also love, I mean, I guess it makes sense because it's been 100 years since the airbenders are gone, but like the fact that they don't immediately recognize him as an airbender because of his outfit, I think
because
is
the
kind of
outfits and
funny.
tattoos, yeah, it's
Yeah.
very interesting.
Which like it does make sense though because they it's not like they would have seen any airbenders in their lifetime.
Yeah, no.
So him launching himself to the air is a pretty good giveaway. Um, which is funny. And then we of course get the hilarious bit of Appa refusing to fly. He's so grouchy at the
Love it.
beginning, which is
I love
great.
how Groucho is, which makes sense because I feel like
He's been sleeping
the
for 100 years.
yeah, the Avatar can survive this, like, he's the Avatar, but Appa's just a normal animal.
Yeah.
How the I think I'm not gonna think about this too much because I love this show, but how did that animal survive?
The Avatar
Was it with
state
Avatar magic?
extends. Yeah, it's just Avatar magic is how that works, which I think is fair.
Well, I'll let that one pass.
Well, and I mean the Sky Bisons are the original Airbenders, so like they maybe he's got a little pocket of I don't know the
Fair.
airbending and the Avatar state, and Appa's just that cool.
Or
You
maybe
know,
he hibernates. Maybe it's like a
that
hibernation
would be
state.
wild if flying bisons hibernated.
That would.
That'd be really cool, actually.
That's a question for the creators, I think.
Yeah.
We're gonna send in
Um.
mail.
So we get all of that, and we get them going to leave to go back to the Water Tribe, and
Mhm.
also we cut to Zuko on the Fire Nation ship because he saw the giant beam of light that
The
came
giant beam of
from
light.
the iceberg. And I love again how immediately we establish Zuko's character and
So
just his
fast.
like determination and like I only
Mhm.
care about this, nothing else matters. Like screw your tea and cards, Iroh. I want to go get this guy. Like I need to go do this so I can go
It's so good.
home. Yeah, which is great. Like it's and again also establishes Iroh with like nothing. Like we see
Nothing.
Zuko and his so like intense determination, and Iroh's just sitting there playing dominoes and his tea. Like he's just chilling. He's like, yeah, I mean, we'll get there, or maybe it's nothing. You know, you always trip out about whatever, Zuko. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And
And I
then,
do love that he mentions he's like, we've been down this road before, Zuko. Like,
mhm,
they've done this a lot. They've been on this journey for a while. And
which
you
is
immediately
another.
get their relationship. Like, yeah, Iroh's cool and calm. Zuko's hot headed.
Hmm.
He needs to
And
capture the Avatar.
I can't remember. Do they mention like in that scene that they've been going at it for 2 years? Because I know they mentioned in one of these episodes that
No, that's
the
later, I
exact
think.
time. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
probably when they're talking to Zhao, if I would guess, or
Hmm.
not like talking to Zhao, but like going to get repaired or something. Um, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's still that line that like we've been down this road before really gets you the information that like they've been doing it for a while. Like this is
Hmm.
not a first occurrence thing where this isn't his first, like they just left and are now trying to like
Yeah.
get there,
Which I
which is
just
cool.
realized something, a parallel. This is okay. This is for my Zutara shippers out there.
See, we
I
got
know. Don't roll your eyes. Don't roll your eyes. And so Katara and Zuko, I think both lost or were separated from their fathers both 2 years ago then. Because 2 years ago, then he must have had it was both at the same time, that same
yeah,
year.
I hate that so
I
much.
just
I'm
put that
so mad.
together.
I'm
That's my
so
Zutara
mad.
shippers out there.
No, we can't. We'll get it. We'll have to get into their stuff,
We'll get
especially
into
later down the
that.
road whenever we get real into
I just like the idea of it.
I'm not a fan. Not a
But
fan. It's fine. It's okay. It's fine.
it's okay. I
Um
think it's for the girls.
um yeah, so they're established super well, which is great. We also get
Mhm.
the like honor being the backbone for Zuko. He's like, I need to restore
Honor.
my honor. Like that's the
Mhm.
like the driving force for
The
him, which I
driving
think is
force.
really cool.
Mhm.
Um we
Because he does
also
say one point of this episode, he goes, "Their honor didn't hinge on
on finding
finding the
him.
Avatar. Mine
Mine
does."
does. Yeah. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, that one this show is so good. It one establishes
It's
like
like
his backbone, but then also establishes him being different and like set apart from everyone else in one line. It's so good.
one line. In one
Yeah,
line.
it's incredible. So we go back to the main crew and they're floating along
Mhm.
on Appa and Katara asks Aang what happened to the Avatar, and we again immediately get a huge part of Aang's character where he
Mhm.
deflects. He says, "I didn't know him. I knew people that knew him. Like I'm not sure." And it's
Yeah, he
him not
lies,
wanting yeah, he lies. He's
which
avoiding
is
that
interesting.
responsibility. Yeah, he's like shirking it off and is like, I don't know. I don't want to deal with that. Like, that's too much. And then
Mhm.
we get the glimpse of the nightmare that
Mhm. That shows us
shows
kind of like how he got there.
yeah, that shows him and Appa getting lost in the storm and having to like use the Avatar state, which also first time we see the Avatar state
Mhm.
really, besides like him breaking out, but
And
him
breaking
actually
out. Yeah.
going to use it to make the like ice cocoon, which is crazy that you can do that with the Avatar state.
That's
Honestly,
so sick.
it's
I think
so
I put in
epic.
my notes, I was like, ice circle, ice sphere. I couldn't think of a name
Yeah,
for
it's
it.
just a
I like
crazy.
ice cocoon. That's a good word. That's a good
Yeah,
word.
he like cocoons them in there, which is wild.
Cocoons.
So we get that, which is cool, and then we have him waking up in the tribe, and Katara sees all his tattoos and stuff,
Mhm.
which is a great moment, I think, too. She's like,
Yeah.
"Wow, this is
She's
a
like, this guy's
wild thing."
legit. I've
Yeah.
never seen this before.
Hmm. And
Um,
Grand comments about the Airbenders being extinct, which, like, we know from the show's title that Aang is obviously the Avatar in the Last Airbender, but
yeah.
to then establish it, 'cause you do have to establish that in the show. It's a really
Mhm.
like big thing to establish that the Airbenders are gone, because we now at this point have seen three of the four nations with
Yeah.
the Water Tribe and the Fire Nation, and now we've got the last Airbender. But that's a really heavy thing to introduce like immediately in the show, and we don't really get to
Mhm.
more exploration of that for two more episodes. But it's still very pivotal to be introduced immediately, which is really cool. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's just the whole can. And then of course we get some of the fun stuff, where like Aang's being a kid and not wanting to like do anything.
He
He's
was
like, "Oh, let's go."
ignoring his issues, which
Yeah,
relatable. Everybody knows that.
100%.
Every
He's like,
12-year-old kid is just like, I don't want to do homework. I don't want to focus on this real thing I have to do.
yeah."
I'm just going to focus on the happy, fun things. That's what
Hmm.
kids do. That's what 12-year-olds do. He's a real
He,
12-year-old.
he very much is.
Like,
Um,
yeah.
so we get through all that. We get Sokka's important stuff where like he's very much about trying to train all of the kids and
Mhm.
whatnot. And he's like, "This is my responsibility. I've got to do that." And we see this show is full of so many visual comedic gags where it's like,
So
all
many
right,
good ones.
he's like talking to him. He's like, "All right, soldiers, like get ready," and then it cuts, and it's just like kids. It's literally like they're like
I
5 to 8
gotta
years old.
pee. It's my favorite
Yeah,
line of all time. And I love too because those are actual little kids that they got in the voice acting booth. I forget who the voice acting
that's so
um
funny.
director was, but they got actual little kids in the booth and they got them to
Hmm.
yell at these little things. And you can really hear that. It's not because most of the time they get a woman to do a little boy's voice because their voice never changes, but you can
Yeah.
tell they're real little kid voices and they're so cute.
Which is so funny. So we get the little like again, shrugging off responsibilities and
Mhm.
just wanting to have fun and like stuff around the tribe, and then they go to explore. Aang and Katara go to explore Fire Nation ship.
Mhm.
Aang is like, "We should go check this out," and they go in there and they end up setting off some traps, which is not good, and what Aang had been warned about. But he's like, "No, it'll be fine." And
Yeah, he'll be
then
like, "It'll be good."
he's like, "No, no worries, it's fine." And so they get in there, and he's able to use the airbending to get them out of there, which is
Mhm.
important and clutch. Like, good job, Aang.
And
But
clutch.
yeah, come on, Aang's able to get them out of a lot of situations, which is nice. But
Mhm.
that does trigger a flare that alerts Zuko to their presence, and he like zooms in.
Yeah.
And I love the line where he's like, he's agile for his old age,
For his old age, yeah. Zuko
Because
still thinks
Zuko
he's like 112 years old.
which is a logical assumption to make. Like, if you think that the Avatar has survived, your assumption isn't going to be he cocooned himself in an iceberg for 100 years and is still a 12-year-old. Like,
Yeah.
that's not what you're
Because
going to
who
jump
wasn't
to.
there an avatar who lived to like 200 years old?
237, and that was Kiyoshi.
So like it's a logical assumption. Like
Yeah, so
that
he's like,
makes sense.
there's history that an Avatar could live that long, and also people in the Avatar universe just live super long, anyways. Like
Yeah.
Gran is pretty old. Katara, I don't remember how old she ends up being whenever she dies eventually, but like she
I
also
don't know.
was
Yeah.
old. Like characters in that universe have pretty long lives, which is
Yeah.
cool. Like good for them. Love that.
That's very
um,
cool. I
so
also
like,
love the way that we cut back to Zuko, back to this, but the way we cut
mhm.
back to Zuko is that we see Aang jumping and then we just see it through his
Oh,
telescope
the
and then
telescope.
we're back to him. I just think that's so creative.
It's such smart transitions. Like
It's smart
it's
transition, smart writing.
yeah,
It's
it's all
genius.
it's all it's all so good. So that basically like wraps the first episode, the first part of the premiere. And then we get
Mhm.
into the
Oh,
second one.
we did forget to mention though that Katara does think of Aang as could be a waterbending teacher,
Right.
and
Yeah, which is
Aang could be
important.
her master, which is
Hmm.
important.
Which is
And then they
funny
bring up
cuz
the Northern Water Tribe, and yeah, which is
mhm,
funny because
cuz he has no clue.
he has no clue how to do any
Yeah.
of that.
And so they do bring that up. Well, yeah, which is important. And that's another like major thing that's established in the first episode.
In the first
Like
episode.
they get so much out there in like 20, like less than 20 minutes. Cause if you're
Yeah.
counting credits and everything like that, like those are a couple minutes. So like there's so much information there and so much character work there, just like immediately from the first episode. And so then
Yeah,
we
that was my
go,
main note about that episode.
yeah, it's just like it goes. And even with like you get like 5 minutes in the
Goes.
middle that's them just like messing around, like at the camp, but it's still and this is again something the show continues to do. It's smart like messing around. Like it
Mm-hmm.
always is in the service of the characters of either establishing their motivations or their personalities or like consistent or recurring themes or problems or whatever that they're going to have throughout the show.
Yes.
Like that's what
Like
the
everything services the story. There's nothing
yeah,
that they put in there because they're like, this will be cool, or I'm going to put this in there just because I want it, or because
or
I thought
like
of this idea and I like my idea.
mhm,
They cut all the cheese. There's nothing in there that is they cut the cheese. There's
yeah, all, there's like
they don't need anything unnecessary.
yeah.
Everything in the episode is necessary. Hey, Aspect listener, enjoying the show?
Then be sure to subscribe here on The Aspect so you never miss an episode.
And check out more episodes and clips on our playlist here.
Thanks so much for watching and
Blamio Hot Man.